feature contains tons of animated violence and gore, so don't blame me if you hurt yourself from the excessive amount of pixelated blood, pixelated awesomeness, pixelated insanity. More than 20 years ago, this game burst onto the scene with the most advanced first-person shooter engine ever created and a host of horrifying monsters to massacre your way through, resulting in soiled pants and decreased productivity the world over. Modem-based death matches forced universities like Carnegie Mellon and tech companies like Intel to enact policies against playing Doom to keep their networks from bogging down. Doom also recently became one of 6 historically important games to make it into the World Video Game Hall of Fame in the Strong Museum in Rochester, New York. Here in 2015, gamers eagerly await the release of gameplay footage from the latest iteration of the game titled Doom, which is due to be shown in mere days. In the meantime, there's Brutal Doom, a modification for the original Doom PC game created by YouTube user Sergeant Mark IV that adds a lot more gore plus dismemberments, but it also changes the gameplay in important ways, making it a very different game. Hit detection is location-based, so you can perform brutal headshots. The enemy AI is more brutal. Weapons have interesting and brutally effective secondary modes. Brutal sound effects and visuals have been added, and there are third-person fatalities that you can perform with melee attacks brutally. But this review is mainly about what's new in the latest iteration of the mod, so if you're completely new to Brutal Doom, check out my review from a couple years back.
There's blood everywhere. It's on the floors, the walls, the ceilings.
To most, version 20 is not going to seem that much different from version 19, or even 18 or 17 for that matter. This is the work of a master adding fine touches to a masterpiece. As such, there aren't a whole lot of new features, but mainly a host of tweaks and improvements that most players probably won't really notice, but here's a few that stood out to me. First, blood amounts are now scalable, from a low level that's still a lot more than the original game, all the way up to overdrawn at the blood bank. This adds to the amount of blood that you see splattering on walls, but also airborne particle effects. If you're on GZ Doom, you'll have the custom Brutal Doom menu where you can adjust this, but if you're on Zandronum like me, you'll have to enter a line into the console. Check the end of the changelog text file that comes with the mod to see what to enter in. On the topic of blood, the splattering and dripping effects have been tweaked and improved. Blood pools around dead bodies, and you can now track it around like in Duke Nukem. Certain gibs will even stick to and drop from the ceilings, given the right motivation. There's a new feature that is pretty impressive, but you'll need to enter it into the console to turn it on. When you turn off no bullet penetration, sorry about the double negative, rifle and minigun bullets can pierce walls and doors that are 24 pixels and thinner. Bullets fired this way deal less damage, but it's pretty freaking cool. Throwable grenades have been added, and they're one of the perks that you get from picking up backpacks. The physics are intuitive, they don't bounce excessively, and the fuse is only about 2 seconds, short enough for them to be effective in most situations. And if you're wondering, no, you can't cook them. It's worth mentioning that there are more frames of animation and detail to the sprites. One obvious example of this is that zombies can slump back against walls when they're killed. Pink demons can lose limbs and still come after you. Kill them quick or let them bleed out. Friendly Marines are now illustrated with different weapons, but not only that, you can order them to follow or hold position using the use key when you're close. A while back when this version was being previewed, the Brutal Doom author said he was putting post-mortem mutilations back in after a bug in version 19 forced him to take them out. But it looks like, according to the changelog, this feature is still not back in here. I was able to play around with these imp heads, but the feature is nowhere near what I was able to do back in version 17, which is the one I was playing when I did my review in 2013. Overall, this isn't a big deal. Weapons have been tweaked in terms of graphics and mechanics. The flamethrower that you can rip off of the Mancubus has been upgraded into a true flamethrower, and it's pretty effective. The plasma gun now has a charge-up secondary that kind of functions like an electric shotgun. It's neat, but I actually prefer the version 19 edition that had a flamethrower-like secondary. New recoil and kickback effects have been added that make the game even harder than it was. The assault rifle is now made more for a burst fire use, as prolonged shooting will accentuate the recoil. With each new version of Brutal Doom, we get different versions of the weapon sprites. The assault rifle in particular has changed many times. This new one uses a circular sight, which looks cool, but it obscures your sight picture, so it's a little bit harder to use. The sprite is better and a lot more detailed, but I prefer the old iron sights from version 19. I do like the little UAC lettering here though. And now it's time for a Dome Candy Games pro tip. You can now dual wield assault and plasma rifles. Once you pick up 2 of these weapons, hit the number button for that weapon again and voila, dual wielding. The trick to firing both weapons at the same time, however, is to hold both the left and right mouse buttons. This has been a Dome Candy Games pro tip. The new shotgun looks awesome, but this added carrying sling has the community divided into those who think that it looks like swinging testicles and those who, well, okay, everyone thinks it looks like nards, but some people just don't mind it. The chainsaw is revamped and is now one of your most useful weapons, especially if you need to engage someone at close range. It has added swiping animations and enemies really get cut in two. One thing I didn't mention in my original review of Brutal Doom is the music. Sergeant Mark IV has collected a set of curated metal mixes of Doom music for Doom 1 and 2 created by the fans. It's high quality, it sounds freaking awesome, and it's simply tough to play Doom without it these days. This isn't unique to version 20, as it's a separate download that you can get on ModDB right alongside Brutal Doom. Despite a couple of nitpicks that boil down to personal preferences, you really can't go wrong with Brutal Doom. Like I said, version 20 is the work of a master, adding fine touches to a masterpiece. Let's just hope Sergeant Mark IV knows when to call it good before he goes George Lucas on us.
The studios change everything all the time, and unfortunately, they don't have any imagination, and they don't have any talent.
As always, thanks for watching Dome Candy Games, because video games are like candy for your dome.